Hi, everyone. Coming to you from Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm Scott Harrison, Artistic Director of Ironweed Productions, and I want to welcome you to Talking Theater Santa Fe. This is actually our 25th interview. Talking Theater Santa Fe is a series of conversations between me and Santa Fe theater artists, sharing stories about their experiences in the theater and the unique paths that led them to creating theater in Santa Fe. I'm very honored and grateful to have as my guest tonight Santa Fe actor and activist Cristina Vigil. Cristina, thanks so much for joining me for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to it. So, a little bit more about Cristina before we start. Cristina is a born and raised Santa Fean and has been on a steady diet of activism, art, and community care since birth. She was trained in performing arts at Santa Fe Performing Arts, Alvord Elementary, and the College of Santa Fe. She received her high school diploma through an accelerated program at the Santa Fe Career Academy and has since been working as a scopist or specialized proofreader to court reporters and transcriptionists. She is a member of the longest running burlesque troupe in Santa Fe, Circus Erotique, and a former, did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did.
Excellent. And she's a former member of the Meow Wolf Immersive Performance Crew. She currently resides on the south side of Santa Fe with her two dogs, Goat and Candy. So, Christina, I always like to start at the beginning and just wanted to ask if you can remember uh, your first memory of being captured by the imagination or play acting as a child.
Sure. Yeah, it actually wasn't until I was a little bit older. Definitely like normal make believe stuff that all kids do. But I was in like my first play and theater experience when I was 12. Um, and that was at Santa Fe Performing Arts. And I was in Young Frankenstein. And I believe I played, let's see, I think I played a villager and an angry villager and a village elder. And that was directed by Kate Hope, and yeah, that was a fantastic experience. It was also terrifying. I was like half very much into it and half like dreading it every day. It was very funny, but definitely was hooked from that moment on.
Do you remember do you remember your first performance or kind of what it felt like the first time to be in front of an audience?
Oh, it was exhilarating. Like, yeah, I think I had a very like, I'm not sure if I like this, and I was kind of like hot and cold on it, but like the second opening night happened, and everyone in the cast is dressed up and you get flowers, and then you like go backstage and you put your makeup on. Like it was the best, like so exciting. Like I
Wow.
loved it.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Yeah, and did you like in terms of acting, what would you say draws you is the thing that draws you most to loving to act?
Mm, I think I like filling somebody else's shoes. I've always just loved characters. Like even when I was little, I was the type of person who would like, you could show me a musical movie and I would have all of the choreography and all of the lines of like one character down. And
That's great.
I'd be like, oh yes, I know the whole premise.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think I just really liked that, like fully embodying someone that was like, especially someone who's super different from me. Like that's always the most fun.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
And is there a part, I know for me, like one of the things I really enjoy about working on a character, like I love working on dialects just because for some reason I feel like that's a really tangible way to get inside someone else's skin is just the way that
Yeah.
they speak. Are there particular things about like the physicality or uh, the physical aspects of acting that you are really drawn to in terms of making yourself different, a different person?
Oh yeah, like very specifically, I've always loved, any of the exercises you do during development that are like walk based, like where does the weight sit in your body? That is super helpful for me. because, you know, like certain characters like really, really sit like in their like root chakra or like their pelvis. And it's like when all of your action comes from there and your energy from there, like it completely shifts how you approach a character, as opposed to a person who really expresses and comes from like their head, like from their crown. And that's always been really, really fascinating to me, is the physical aspect of it.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I had a huge lesson in that when I was in DC. I was taking an acting class, and we had to come in with an animal, you know, and we had to observe an animal somewhere, and we had to come in and actually and be that animal and do this pantomime. And so I didn't really, I procrastinated on the assignment, and I said I was going to do a duck because we had
Right.
a lake out, you know, side where we used to live. So I went out and looked. You know, I didn't spend any time doing it, and came into class and tried to fake my way through it. And my teacher was like, "That's not, like, you didn't do the work. Like, you need to go back. I want you to watch a duck, and I want you to come back." And so I did, and I spent you know, a lot of time observe, and it was and I came back, and he said that was it. I mean, that you created the physicality. And I remembered, you know, just that lesson, like you said, about you know, how if you get really specific with how you know, with where movement is in someone's body, or with movement, it can just be totally transformative. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We had an exercise like that at Santa Fe Performing Arts that like cracks me up to this day. Kate Hope, who was my teacher, assigned all of us, like little teenagers, to go to the plaza and like find someone that we found like interesting the way that they moved, and to like kind of like far away enough so that we didn't seem like complete weirdos, like
Yeah,
try and like do what they were doing. Well, like,
yeah. Right.
and yeah, it was probably definitely a very strange day on the plaza because there was like 8 of us that all went together to do it.
Yeah, what's with the weird kids that are like following us around all over? Yeah, yeah.
And that are like giggling uncontrollably because we keep looking back at them because we know
Right,
they're following us. So, like,
right, right. I know it is pretty funny that, yeah, some of the exercises we get, you know, because yeah, I had another teacher who said, you know, I want you to go out in the subway, and I want you to observe some, you know, people and come back. And yeah, you're trying to kind of be indiscreet about, you know, I'm observing you right now, so could you do what you can? So, well, did you?
I promise this is homework. I'm not.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I'm an actor. I'm not a weirdo. Well, I am a weirdo, but I'm also an actor.
Yeah.
Um, um, I was remembering, well, the first time I saw you on stage, I'm not sure of which play it was because I saw you in several, but it was with Robert Knotts, the productions that he would do. Do you
Yes.
remember the first production of his that you were in?
The first one that I was in was Doc Watson versus the Vampires.
Uh-huh.
And I played the vampire queen, like the head vampire bride to Dracula. And the two, because I think I was only in 2 productions as an actor with him. Those 2 plays are still like the most fun I've ever had doing theater. Like, where it's like there's not a rehearsal where you're not laughing. There's not a rehearsal where you leave like feeling bad. You're always like, oh, I feel great. Like complete endorphin overload in a good way.
Yeah, I just, well, and was the second one you were in, was that the one with the twins or no? No, wait. Was it the one that Matt Sanford played like the, oh, shoot.
Oh,
What-
I think it was like a play off of Shakespeare,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't in that one. I believe I like may have helped on like crew or something, but that one was also it was Pirates. I do remember that one. That one was amazing. No, I was in that one. I was as a vampire bride, and then the other one I was like an assassin. I was a trained assassin that was like going after this one character. Oh wait, but maybe that was the one where he was twins. Now that I'm thinking of the script.
Yeah, I remember there was, yeah, I thought that was the one that there, and wasn't there one where you were like playing a character who was like carrying a briefcase or something, or am I?
Maybe.
Anyway,
Yeah. But yeah, the ones that are definitely memorable were the vampire queen and the trained assassin.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just, I
Like,
mean, those plays, and then Robert would write them and direct them, and then he and Matt Sanford started working together on them and writing them, co-writing them, and those were so fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
the writing was hilarious, but also just the precision, the comic precision that you all would find, and also just the
Hmm.
spirit. I mean, because there was always the big sword fight. I remember the big, like,
Yes.
that would have the big swashbuckling, but those were
Uh-huh.
really, well, that's really cool to hear how fun they were to work on, because it definitely came across as you were watching them.
Yeah, a thing that I took away from that, which like has served me in like future performing arts stuff, that Robert was really good at doing in the environment, was he fostered an environment where it was really safe to make a mistake. It was really safe to fail.
Oh, okay. Oh,
And yeah, it was really like, oh, like I had never had that up until then. It was like, you have to get this right and it has to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, like, the whole world falls apart and like, you're a bad actor.
yeah, right. Yeah.
And he was like, no, I would rather you do it wrong a million ways and hilarious ways. And I bet you one of those wrong ways is going to be brilliant. Like, and so that was also what like, it helped bond us as like an ensemble, and it just made it so like the precision was easy to find because you weren't like held back by like, well, what if it's wrong, or like what if I like say the wrong line because we're going really fast and he said to improvise, like you didn't have any of that, like that went away.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because I was wondering how you all found that precision, but kept within it just this spirit of fun and wow, wow.
Yeah,
How
no,
long
he
would you rehearse
very good.
those plays? Do you remember how long?
It was usually during the summer because I remember it would be kind of like it would coincide sort of with the melodrama. Like it was always like either like right before the melodrama would open or like a little bit after. And so I mean, I want to say like maybe 6 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. Like it was pretty quick. He would give us the script and we would do a read through, and then it was just like workshopping it really, really fast. Like go in and do the scene, and that was also really nice. Was he wouldn't want like, sure, he wants you to be like off book, but he's also like, if you find a line that works better, like we'll use that one. Like I want you to get through the scene and let's start to find stuff, and like the lines will come, which was interesting too. That was a really interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Wow. Uh, and when would you say it was that you had that feeling of acting is something I'd like to keep keep pursuing?
It was probably while I was still at Santa Fe Performing Arts while I was a teenager. I remember specifically playing the Queen of Hearts in an Alice in Wonderland like musical, and just feeling like this feels so good to do. Like why would I not keep doing it? Like in this moment, like in my whole costume, like getting ready to like sing this whole song, and like also just like put attitude and be the queen and like own the stage. Like why would I not keep doing this? And like, yeah, I think I just always found it kind of also like fun and like intoxicating in that way where like, that I think everybody finds with live theater, where it's just like, even though I will do the rehearsed thing and I'm going to stick to a script, like anything can happen, and like you're in your seat and I'm here, and like let's go, like you've agreed to this and so have
Right,
I.
right. Yep. Yeah, this is happening now. This is right, right.
And it could go entirely off the rails, and that is also incredibly exciting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting because I was just talking to my wife Lisa the other day about some. I swear that the mishap stories on stage are the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, still to this day, my most kind of horrifying moment on stage was we were doing a tour of Twelfth Night, and we'd been on the road for several months, and
Mm-hmm.
we were in some theater in Kansas, and we were, and I was playing Sebastian, and the twin and mistaken identity thing, and so it's a monologue where he's telling the audience that that this woman who was in love with his twin has just come on to him, and he doesn't know who this is, but this is great, so why
Right.
argue, and I'll just go with it. And the monologue ends with him turning to the audience and saying, "But here the lady comes," and she comes out with a priest, and they're married. And so we're doing it one night, and I finished the monologue, and I turned to the wings, and there's no one there. And one of the other cast members who's playing Festi came into the wings, and she's like, "Just go, go, go." And I still remember to this day what I said. It was, it's a Shakespeare play. I turned to the
Hmm.
audience and I said, "She's not here. She's so beautiful, and she said she loves me, and I don't even know her." And, and I was out there. They said I was out there. By the time she finally came on, I was out there for a minute and a half, just riffing. Anyway, it was just like absolutely horrifying. Do you
Oh,
have? I mean, are there any times for you on stage where you just, those kind of crazy, how the heck am I going to get out of this moments?
I've had a few. One that like relates to yours actually happened to another actor, but like I just have to tell it because it was brilliant. Raina Urban, who doesn't live here anymore. She's in Chicago. We were in Santa Fe Performing Arts together, and she was playing Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. And her Romeo forgot to put the knife in his pocket for the end of the show. And I was doing the lights. I was on tech crew that time. And so like I was just at the light board like, oh no, he doesn't have it. Because you could see it on her face. He had died, and she was like searching. She literally improvised some lines like, maybe it's in another pocket. and then she improvised an entire little thing that went on for like a minute about how, oh wait, there is some poison still like left on his chin. Like if I kiss him again, I will die too. And I was just like, like
Wow.
that
That's
is
great.
brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, that's the coolest thing too, is seeing how people actually get out of it. That's great.
Yeah.
Um,
And then a personal one, just a quick one, was I was in Cabaret playing Sally Bowles, and my opposite, my love interest, he wasn't really an actor. He was just kind of like trying it out for the summer before he went to college.
uh-huh.
And he like literally he went up on all of his lines and lost them for like an entire scene that's just him and me. And so I literally like just interpret it as like Sally Bowles, it's all about her anyway. Like she doesn't really listen anyway. And I just like did the whole thing, like sort of adjusting his lines.
Oh my God, that's great.
I was like, but you think that anyway, right? And then I'd like walk away and say my line and then like walk back. And,
That's
like,
great. Oh man. Those are, I mean, they're horrifying in the moment, but they just make the best stories.
yeah, no, they're so good. And like, yeah, they're also like, they're brilliant to watch. They're, yeah, terrifying to be in. Brilliant to think back on later.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is fun to be in the audience when you're like, okay, I know something's going on right now that's not supposed to go on. So let's see how they're going to get out of it.
Yeah, when you see the deer in headlights look
Yeah.
of an actor and you're like, oh no.
This is gonna be fun. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Um, well, this was actually, I was just thinking this the other day. This was about, actually exactly a year ago now. You were in our production of Water by the Spoonful by Chiara Alegria Udas, Pulitzer Prize winning play, part of the Eliot trilogy with Teatro Praguas and the Playhouse. Really rewarding collaboration. And you just gave such a wonderful performance as Yasmin. And the whole ensemble uh, was just terrific under Vali Rivera's just beautiful direction. And I remember, one of the things that most struck me about that production was um, just how rich and strong the ensemble work was. And I know you have worked with Vali before this production. I wonder if you could just share what it's like working with Vali as a director, and specifically on an ensemble piece like that.
Oh, she's amazing. Like, she takes you to the outer reaches of the universe and like, and pushes you and pushes you and pushes you, and you're like, I'm in space, I can't breathe. And she's like, no, just take a breath. And you're like, oh, I'm fine. That's what it feels like being directed by Vali.
Yeah.
No, she creates such a strong ensemble, I think, by just being real with you that like it's gonna get scary, because it is scary, especially with a piece like Water by the Spoonful. And that it's okay that like you all have each other even if it gets a little scary. Like I trusted all of that cast like implicitly. I was like, they've got me. Like if I go up on something, like Evan's got me, or Juan's got, like, they've all got me. And she really, really nurtures that from the beginning of like making a sense of play with each other, and also being quick with each other, like really trying to like anticipate each other's movements, and just like getting into the animal of it is a thing that she really, really goes into a lot of, just kind of like, where is the full primal, like, strip away all of society, strip away all of that, like, what is this person if they were just like a feral animal, and then like go from there, and really strips it all the way down. She's amazing. And she was amazing to work with on Bless Me Ultima too, which that was all animal. I played a Trementina sister, and I'm pretty sure like I said a few words, but I mostly like growled and snarled.
Wow. Now, and was that your first time? That was your first time working with her?
That was my first time working with her as a director. I had worked like as a stage manager for stuff that she was acting in.
Oh,
But yeah, that was the first time being directed by her.
yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Also a phenomenal actor. If you've never seen Vali perform, she's amazing.
Yeah, I've not seen her perform. Wow. That's great.
Yeah,
Well,
she's great.
yeah, that was just the the play was beautifully done. It was beautifully directed, and yeah, the ensemble work was just fantastic. And I remember there was one time was in the rehearsal hall right before you all were starting, and then you guys were in your circle, and you were going to start your. And I was like, oh, I just want to be a fly on the wall and just watch what they, because just so yeah, that's really
Mm-hmm.
interesting about getting into the animal of it. That's
Yeah, no, she had us like, I don't know if you remember like Theater Walk, we did that like flashlight piece that then ended up being our like intro.
yeah.
And that was part of it too, of just kind of like, what are you searching for? Like, we're all just like these little beings like passing in the night, and we all like want something. Like, what do you want? And like show that in your body. And yeah, like she really did like bring it down to the simplicity of it, which I think I always have a hard time doing. I like
Mm.
overthink it.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
add layers and I add layers, and she's like, take all those away. Like,
Yeah,
what is just the base, and then go from there.
yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Yeah, that was just a beautiful production, and it was really. And again, just a shout out to Teatro Praguas and the Playhouse for
Yes.
inviting us to be part of that collaboration, which was just a great, rewarding thing to be part of. Um, and you are on the board of Teatro Praguas. And
Yeah.
when did you first? Teatro Praguas was very generous, and we performed in your all second space, which is a really
Mhm.
wonderful space. When did you first get involved with Paraguas?
Paraguas was right around the same time that I started theater entirely. My mom knew Argos just from back in the day, being in Santa Fe forever. And she knew that he did bilingual theater. And that was just something that like they wanted more for me, just because I wasn't bilingual. Like, I'm still not like fully fluent, but just to kind of start getting that language into my brain. So yeah, like maybe around 14, I did my first play with them, and it was at El Museo, the old
Oh
space.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it was at El Museo, and that in that really kooky, funny little theater that they have there.
Hmm.
And it was cuentos, so it was the little Halloween stories that they do every year, like around October.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was fun. It was the most Spanish I'd ever like spoken in my life. but
Wow.
like
Yeah.
but it was fun. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So and when did you become a board member there? How long have you been on their board?
I believe it's about like 2 years now, or like around there. Yeah, like I joined probably like right before, a couple months before like the quinceañera fundraiser that we had for them, and yeah, I've been on since.
Yeah. 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 Well, and I know you all have done. There was the production that you all did online that Juliet directed of Red Bike was just
Hmm.
really wonderfully done. I mean,
Yes,
and
that.
it,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
so hauntingly put to. I mean, just so really hauntingly, poignantly done. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
are you all for folks that either may not be familiar with Teatro Paraguas or want to know more? How can folks find out more? Or are there particular projects coming up for Paraguas?
Yes. So if you want to find us, Facebook and our website are like the most readily updated. So just search for Teatro Paraguas on Facebook and teatroparaguas.org online. And yeah, what do we have coming up? We have the Cuentos, the thing that I first did. We have that
Yeah,
coming up for Halloween, kind of around that time. So that's scary folk tales and stuff, and cute little folk tales that we do with our children's theater program. And then we also are toying with the idea of possibly doing some little script readings and other stuff around then, of like, we have all these scripts that we've been like holding on to that like we love and are great and are like spooky and strange. And we've never had a chance to do them because usually we have the cuentos and then we have the Dia de los Muertos show. And then it's like too overwhelming to do anything else other than that. But now that it's all online and with the pandemic, it's like, oh, we just do a Zoom thing and record it like now and like
yeah,
read it.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Nice.
so we can do more, which is kind of like an interesting blessing of this. Like you can kind of do more because there's not so much like needing bodies all to be in the same room.
Right, right. Yeah, it is interesting what people are finding to create performance-wise in the midst of all this. Yeah,
Yeah. No, and we've been pretty active, and we're hanging in there as far as like COVID, and like we're keep holding on to our space. And yeah, it's fascinating, like how this has turned everything upside down so much. But like Red Bike came out wonderful, and we weren't sure about it because that was like new territory. um, but yeah, and that was another script that we had been holding on to. And we also have partnered with we're going to start putting stuff on a streaming website called Zerb. I believe it's XERB. It might be ZERB, but and it's a local company that just came up in Santa Fe that's like just providing like almost like YouTube channels or streaming channels for like local creators, content creators. And so we'll be hopping onto that and kind of like releasing old stuff too. We're hoping that we can like do some archival stuff so you can see like, maybe you can see 14-year-old Cristina like stumbling through some Spanish.
excellent, excellent. That's great.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Wow, very cool. Um, well, tell me, how did you get? Tell me the journey to burlesque and Zirkus Erotik.
So that actually started around like, I want to say 2008. Probably I was like 17 or 18. And I went to a Meow Wolf party back when they were like in the warehouse, like, they were still very much just an art collective.
Yeah,
And they had this cool little, like, it was like a pretend speakeasy, and like, everyone got in like their flapper dresses and stuff. And like, they had a photo booth that was done with this super awesome, like, ancient camera. It was like a gigantic box and like pulled this huge slide out of it. And when I went there, one of the entertainment acts was Zirkus Iratik, who was a brand new troupe, like brand spanking new. They'd maybe been around like a few months, and they performed. And I just remember like standing there and being like, what's that? Like, there are sparkles, there's feathers, there's like,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
like cool hair, there's makeup, like, what, I want to do that. And so then I stumbled upon the Burlesque Hall of Fame and other places online where they like had all the archival stuff of like burlesque, the original burlesque in like the 30s, 40s.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I just became like an avid like fan and like amateur historian. I have like a ton of books on this bookshelf over here that are just like burlesque stuff. And yeah, but was also like terrified of doing it. Was just like, no, I don't know if it's like for me, but like I like it a lot. And like, you know, I know all the performers' names who are popular right now. And then let's see, how did I actually, then I started performing with the Jewel Box Cabaret, which was under Linda Krause, and we performed at Skylight and the Lodge, the little cabaret room. And through that, Zirkus performed like with us as like invited acts. So then I got to actually like meet Mina, the producer and troupe leader, and those people, and kind of like be like, hi, like I'm very interested in this, also terrified, like I love you guys. And then they had auditions, and I was just like, well, here we go, because I had been workshopping burlesque acts through the Jewel Box Cabaret. I was like trying it out and doing little short numbers and just like seeing if the audience liked me or if they were even interested. And I got enough positive like feedback that I was like, okay, like I'll audition, and if they say no, then I go back to being a historian, and if they say yes, then I'll probably be addicted to sparkles for the rest of my life.
Wow, that's well. And so, how does performance within burlesque? How does that experience, that live performance experience, differ from stage for you?
It's so interesting because a lot of it is really similar. Like obviously, I grab a lot from my acting background, but it's so different doing burlesque in like the society that we live in, where just like sensual things are super taboo. Even like before we even get to whether it's sexual or not, just being any type of sensual, like the audience immediately is like, ugh. And that's really, really interesting to do. Like it's a whole different like charge and energy in performances with burlesque. Because usually you have like a very uptight audience at the top of the show, and they're kind of like nervous, and they're a little bit like, oh, I don't know why I'm here. And then by the end, it's like, you know, like Pandora's box has opened, they're losing it, they're screaming, they're excited, you know, they can't tell you how important the show was to them. It's so important to see, you know, women on stage, you know, doing what they do, or men, you know, or whatever you identify as. And like, yeah, I find that it's like very healing in an interesting way to audience members, in a way that like theater also is too, but like because of the way that this world is, it does tend to be just like something that's very mind-blowing for a lot of audiences, which is, it's fun to kind of be that storyteller.
Yeah.
To like invite people to like to just like let go a little. Like you don't have to like jump all the way in, just let go a little.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I don't know really burlesque and the process in terms of, do you kind of work on one particular performance for a long time, or do you kind of have a repertoire of things that you're kind of continually evolving, or how does the process of rehearsing it work?
It's kind of both, actually. Like I have a repertoire of like probably like 10 acts that I can just like, you know, brush them off and like throw them on stage if I need to. But then also I'm always like exploring new acts. You know, if I hear a song that I really love, I'll build an act around a song. Or if I see a costume piece that I really love, I'll build an entire act off of the costume. It can really be anything. Or like, I know one of the dancers that I met does it off of like pieces of literature that they love. And they're like, oh, I just want to build an act that's like just that line of literature, like in a number.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so it can really be, it's very amorphous in that way, and lends itself to every type of performing arts person can do it. Like models have a very different approach to burlesque as like musicians do, as these people do, but like everyone can do it. Like your art form will translate to burlesque. Like it just does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we have like group numbers and stuff also that we do that kind of like morph and change throughout like the history and stuff, especially right now with it being virtual. We've had to like figure out interesting ways to be like, it's an ensemble number and let's create like a feeling of oneness, but we're not in the same room.
Right. That's great. So you're still doing it via Zoom. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, we actually have a show coming up. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. We have one coming up on October 24th, and it's going to be on Vimeo, and it's going to run through to, I think, November 7th. So you can let off a little steam before the election or after the election, depending on what you need.
Or both. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and so if you just go to either our Facebook or our website, which is zeburlesque.com, and Zirkus Iratik is our Facebook page, and yeah, we'll have all the info of when you can start purchasing tickets and what the rental fee for the video is versus if you want to purchase it to own. So
Oh, cool. Oh, that's great. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, we've been doing that since like the beginning. We did a May show, and then we've been doing a couple since then.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Man, it's fascinating to me how well, just everyone adjusting to this, time and performing arts wise. Um, and I was curious kind of what your thoughts are on, since COVID started. I know I've been feeling like, there's a certain part where I want to just be kind of open to the moment in terms of how, how live performance is going to evolve and what's going to be important to people, that I feel like that's going to change. There's going to be changes and shifts around that. And we're, not only we're in this, we're in this period of this pandemic, but we're also in this period of just this really strong movement and momentum toward, social justice and really important social change. And I just wondered for you, what are your thoughts about how theater might evolve as we continue to navigate through this time?
It's interesting. I feel like I'm also already seeing it. Like, I'm feeling that there's a lot of like, the art is kind of shifting to really, really connect with today's audience in the way of like, well, do you need the social justice? Then we've offered you like some beautiful social justice, but also like, do you need the rest right now? Like, I've also found a lot of art has been coming out that's like super restful and gentle and like joyful, which is also like, I feel like that's always artists' roles, is where we're kind of like soft and playful in that way. So it's just like, yes, we can be hard and be the jester and put like the mirror up to society and show you like your, the shadows and the lines and the wrinkles and everything you don't want to see. But we can also be the like, you know what, like, it's okay to like take a break and it's okay to take a breath. And it's really nice to kind of like see those balances. Like I find that almost those are morphing in a really beautiful way in the way that I've seen virtual art, where it's like has a really strong message and a really beautiful like social justice activism, like this needs to change and this is what's beautiful about it, but also the world is beautiful and here's the gratitude with it, and like also embracing that. Like that's what I would want to keep happening, and I think I'm also seeing it happening, which is lovely.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I've thought too, like wondering coming out of this. I feel like there's a certain level where I want to hold on to certain things about this period that have been wonderful in terms of when we've been forced to slow down or just forced to kind of appreciate some simpler things or some things that I felt like were just passing me by in my daily life because I was just on a treadmill. And I feel like, man, I just don't want to lose that, when we get back to whatever we, the other side of this. And I think that's really interesting too, performance wise, about how that can, um, because there are elements of this period where in the midst of all this craziness we've been in, where there's a gentler, quieter, peaceful quality that's really healing. And yeah, that's interesting to think about performance and what it can do along that line.
Yeah, like that sometimes it also can't, like it can also, it's good to remember that art also doesn't have to like have a really dense, deep message,
Right.
that it can also just be like, no, this is just like for feel good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or I just, this is complete entertainment. I'm laughing, yeah, I'm laughing my ass off, or I'm just, yeah, I agree. And I also think, it's interesting how, to me, I thought too, there's also just always that love of just a great story, just getting lost and just continuing to find great stories that we just completely lose ourselves in. Because for me, that's kind of the most one of the really exciting things about sitting in this theater is when suddenly I realize 30 minutes have gone by and I've just told I'm in there, like I'm in the living room with these people, and
Mhm.
or that feeling of just that visceral feeling of, oh man, I don't know what is going to happen next, um,
No, agree. I think that's also why I loved that we worked on Red Bike at Teatro Paraguas, because it was like very timely for the time. Like it was very much like, oh, there's monsters and like the city's changing and the world around me is changing. But it was also like, but like I have a red bike and like I'm invincible and I'm gonna have the best day ever and it's gonna be great. Like,
yeah, yeah, that's not right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and there's an interesting, I don't know, I think too, like, I don't know, there's such a wonderful childlike quality, I think, about theater, both in terms of the stories that we can watch or just the feeling that we can have being in the theater. And I think I love that element of it as well. Yeah, just kind of tapping into the childlike wonder of being in a theater and the magic and all that.
yes, I say that we're definitely like the fool card. If like anyone knows like tarot and the major arcana, like we're like actors are the fool. Like we're just kind of always like ready to like step off the cliff, and we're like, it could be great, it could be bad, I don't know, here I go.
That's right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna be like excited about it.
Yeah, I'm taking the leap with a smile on my face, no matter what happens. Yeah,
Hmm. We are the leap takers.
exactly, exactly. Um, well, I wanted to I like to kind of finish off with a question too that I'm just always intrigued with the different answers to this. For you, in terms of your performing, I mean, whether it's with Circus Iratique or with theater, um, what is there a moment, or are there particular moments where for you you feel like this is why I just absolutely love doing this?
Hmm. Um, if it's like a millisecond, like a moment that like immediately hits me, it's the second that an audience member gives a sound of recognition.
Oh wow.
So it's the like, ah, or like the just like, or when the, even better when the whole audience goes, like,
Yeah,
like that, I'm like, that's it. Like that is it.
yeah.
Like to just reach people and have also like that connectivity and that like community in that 2 seconds where everyone's on the same page. Like that's, I'll eat that up all day long.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. That's because for me, that's really mine. It's similar. It's when those moments where there's that silence when you're on stage and you know that everyone's dipping into the same pool of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the same. I love that. Wow.
Yeah, I think especially now when you can still get that sense of community and that sense of like a moment of oneness or like wholeness. Yeah, a moment of wholeness. like that is always like really potent and really powerful and just like feels like exactly what the world needs.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Well, Christina, thank you so much for this conversation. This has been really thought-provoking and inspiring to me too. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was super fun. I watched all of them, so I'm like, look, I'm on it now.
I've really enjoyed it. It's been really fun too.
Yeah.
Um, thank you all for joining us. And just a few little things before we finish. If you are not on our email list and would like to join, you can email me at ironweedsantafe@gmail.com. I'll put you on our list and we can let you know about future interviews and projects and productions we have coming up. I also want to say a big thanks to Theater Santa Fe. They host all of our interviews on their website, which is theatersantafe.org. And I think you can spell theater with an R-E or an E-R. They have an online tab and they have all of our interviews on there. So we're hugely appreciative of that. Stay tuned for more information about interviews coming up in the future. But in the meantime, Christina, thank you again. You all, thank you very much for joining us, and everybody stay safe. Take care.